like the barking and the moving the tail left and right.
Yeah.
You know, the tonalities. It's kind of, there's an interest. And Stella's gonna get this interest because a lot of dogs are really, she's very excited, you know?
Right.
So a lot of dogs are gonna be like, I'm interested in that dog, right?
Right.
But not doesn't necessarily show any type of aggression, you know? Just a lot of like very big interest
So big interest
for Stella, the little dog right here.
yeah, for the little dogs.
Yeah, so look, you see that? And this is that predatory behavior. You see that?
Yeah.
Like going, like just running after where that dog is running, right? And then running back. That is like a little bit of a predatory behavior. You see how that the dog is going back and forth? It's almost like your dog is hunting, you know?
Right, right.
So this is like a little bit of that mode. But the more that tail goes up high and curled up, that's when we know that they're fully in that mode. So this is the dog is kind of displaying a little bit of things like all over the place, right? Like a little bit of, like, you know, like look at the hackles all the way up, right? So it's all over the place, you know. So there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of play. You know, I'm interested to see how that dog is going to react when I get closer. I'm also on a fence, so I can't get over there. That is a little frustrating. There's a lot of things going on there, you know. And the best thing that you can really make a full assessment is when the dogs are on the same space, you know, and then you can actually see like what the situation is, what the dog is interested in, you know, what they like, what they dislike, how that information is, you know, going, how that interaction is being handled, and things like that. And yeah, of course. So yeah, and she's about to enter one of the hardest parts and the hardest times for a dog, which is their second fear period. Said their second fear period, and the first one happens when they're infants, so that one you don't have to worry about. But the second one is when they're about 9 months, depending on the dog, 9 months to a year, and this is where the worst behaviors come from. This is where like aggression, reactivity, all the worst behaviors you can think of, they come from there because they're like, I'm not little anymore. And then they have that, and then on top of that, they have this kind of I'm bigger, and also like my hormones are changing and my brain is almost fully developed, and there's just a lot of things going on. So they're usually, this is where the worst behaviors come from. So a good way to kind of, a good rule of thumb is just to, right before you get to that 9 month period, is to train really hard with your dog so that when they jump over, they're not going to hit it too hard. Because if you don't do any training whatsoever, and then your dog reaches 9 months, they're definitely gonna like do all kinds of different things, you know, that might not be pleasant.
Habits.
Yeah,
Bad habits,
yeah,
then.
for sure.
How long they had her at 4 months old, but she still has to change, so I am going to come to you.
Oh yeah, of course, anytime. Yeah, we'll whenever we do a stars thing, we can, you know, help you out with. I mean, honestly, there's a basis, you know. I don't know why, but dog training has become like this thing. Has become this thing where it's almost like the therapist that keeps their patients sick so they have a job, you know, type of thing. You know, so it's become something like that, like. That is very, very old school now, which is like this, like I got the secret sauce type of thing. Nobody has a secret sauce anymore because it's all out in the internet, you know. Like it's no like you know, before it was like, oh, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or like, you know, McDonald's are doing really well because they have a particular way of. Now people can reverse engineer like anything. So there's people who are like, oh, this is how you make the, you know, the recipe for this or whatever. And so the information is out there. If you look it up, it's out there. It's just, you know, we can look up how to fix our stove electrically, but how we can't verify if we did a good job or if we made it worse. You know what I mean? So then that's why you have an electrician look at it, because you trust that person, you know, has all that together. So that's kind of, I think that as a trainer, I try to give people the most amount in the least amount of time as possible. So because it's really mainly about a confusion about how you're handling this conversation. You don't know how to communicate with your dog. You're not following through. and then you're not practicing. So of course, like, things are not going to happen, you know.
That's good. Yeah.
So I think that if you really narrow it down, if you follow through, and you're consistent, and you're clear in the communication, you can do all kinds of stuff with your dog, you know. But those things need to be there. The boundaries need to be there.
And they have to grow up.
Yeah, and even if I mean, even if let's say, for example, my dog has been where she is at every level, every age. So she was there when she was, you know, like a couple of weeks, and she was there like all the way. But like every now and then, I think it was like 4 months, she challenged me, and she was like, "You can't catch me," and I was like, "Oh man." and then she was like, "No, I'm not gonna come anymore." And then I was like, "Okay," so we're back to training again. So she remembered that you got to do that. Then at 6 months, she did that again. And then she did that again a year, and then that's it. So,
That's interesting.
yeah,
I call her to come, and she looks at me,
yeah,
and then goes the other way.
yeah. So that's a challenge. It's
Yeah.
just like, I don't think you're gonna come get me anyway, so I'm gonna just stay here. What are you gonna do about it?
Star, he's now 2.
Yeah.
I'm starting to use the word. I'm using come, but then I do when I say now.
Uh-huh.
He turns his head and starts coming.
Uh-huh,
He knows the word
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So see, that's the thing, and that's great that you have now, but there's now 2 words. One of them means come, not really.
Come, not really.
Now means come. So it's like,
Sure.
So
So
you
I don't
really-
use come anymore. I use
Yeah.
now.
yeah. So now you just have to have one, but it doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't have to be like now. Like the only reason why your dog is listening to now and not come is because when you say now, you mean it. When you say come, you're saying, well, if you want to,
Come.
you know.
Yeah. Oh.
You see?
When
So
you are saying it sternly, and they're still looking at you like,
yeah.
good luck.
Well, the thing is like that. It's not really about, like, a lot of people think that you have to be this like militant kind of, you know, personality or whatever. It's not even that. Really, what it is that you have to use a pop in your voice. Your dog is listening to you all like the whole time. Your dog is listening to, like, hey honey, how's it going, or like, hi, how are you, or like, hey, what are you doing, Kelly, or like whatever. They're just listening to that voice all day. Hey, how's it going, how you been, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Good, hello, or the TV, blah blah blah. And then that's why when you're having a conversation and you're like, hey, don't yell at me, the dog is like, whoa, what happened? Because all of a sudden now their hearing turns on. The rest of the time is at a level, at a tonality that is like Charlie Brown's teacher, you know. Yeah. So it's just they don't hear that, but then they hear, like, you know, when you say come, and they're like, oh, what was that? So it doesn't have to be like come or no. It just has to be like pop, you know.
Pop.
Come, no, pop. And then they're like, oh, what is that? Like, you've heard of Cesar Millan?
Yes.
Yeah. So Cesar Millan has that sound. That sound can be anything. It could be like or it could be anything.
He just uses
It has to be a sound that's weird that makes the dog be like, what was that? That's all it is.
Uh-huh.
It's a sound that interrupts their brain. That's what it is. But you can achieve it with any type of weird sound. That the dog has to be like, what was that? You know, and then interested enough to kind of get out of wherever they're looking at. And then once they're there, then you guide their mind. Be like, don't do that, and do this instead. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay.
And